So hello YouTube, this is the Slovenian Sonic HD, and today we're gonna do a response type video to ReviewsTIJ's Forza 6 car review, where she compared the McLaren M23 uh, to the Ferrari 312 T2. And yeah, so if you haven't watched that video yet, do go watch it right now. You should have an annotation on screen that points you to the video, and there should be a link in the eye and down in the description below. Go watch that before you watch this. So pause this, go watch that, and then come back to this, because it's gonna be, I'm probably gonna bring out a few interesting points. And yeah, so basically Toby compared those two cars, and yeah, he found out in the end that the Ferrari, at least when he drove it, was about 2 seconds a lap faster than the McLaren in both tests that he did around the track. So, but in the other part, they were pretty similar. So yeah, but in the lap times, the difference was really too huge. It should be on screen now or sometimes. Yeah, when the difference really was huge, it was about 2 seconds, which I think a lot of people, including me, thought that just doesn't seem right. So then I got thinking, where's the problem? Is it in Forza? Did they do a bad job with the cars? Or what? Or is it maybe Toby's driving style that really suits the Ferrari, and he really has problems with the McLaren? I don't know. Hopefully me and my driving style will find out why that is. So first off, we're gonna go to Forza. We're gonna do the same two tracks in the same conditions as Toby. I'm gonna give a few of my opinions on how the car felt, and then we're gonna look at the lap times. And then, of course, because I just feel like it, and because our factor is the same, we're gonna compare the cars in R factor as well. So hopefully this video should clarify how the cars actually are. So let's get to Forza, shall we? So let's start with the McLaren. This car won the World Championship in 1976. And yeah, it must have been pretty good to win it, didn't it? Well, Toby criticized it for having basically no rear. He really had problems with the rear of the car. He didn't have the confidence to push it as hard as he could, and he thought the rear was really loose and that the gear changes were quite slow. So yeah, now in my opinion, it was a good car. I liked it. The front was really responsive, which is the most important thing to me when doing racing games. Because like for my style, it's really good if I have the front of the car that really does what I want it to do. The rear, if it's a bit loose, for my style at least, it doesn't really matter. I don't know, it just works for me. But yeah, the rear was a bit loose, but it was manageable. And the front really did a lot better than the Ferrari. Let's say that much before I review the Ferrari. And yeah, but for the slow gear changes, I do think that that's not the problem of the gearbox, but more of the, how should I say it, more of the engine not revving quickly enough. Because I did notice when comparing it to the Ferrari that this revs a bit slower, and I do believe that this car was a bit down on power compared to the Ferrari in real life, so that could be a determining factor. And so let's look at the lap time. The car did a 1 minute 39.646, which is a respectable lap time. So let's get to the Ferrari and let's take a comparison, shall we? So, the Ferrari. The car that took Niki Lauda to second place in the Drivers' Championship of 1976, and the car that he also sadly got badly injured in at the Nürburgring Nordschleife on the 1st of August. So yeah, Toby seemed to like this car and preferred it to the McLaren and thought that especially in the rear, that the car was much better. Well, I have to agree in the rear the car was much better, but dear God, in the front of the car it just understeered a lot, which is which is really annoying, especially for my driving style, as I explained before. Yeah, it was annoying, and it was sometimes hard to get it into a corner correctly. But when I did, the car really was good, and it had a lot of a better engine. It probably was more. It does have more power, and it does rev quite a bit quicker. And so probably most of the lap time, a lot of the lap time was gained on a lot or a bit, and I can't really decide, was gained on due to the fact that the engine is a bit better. So yeah, let's get to the lap time. The Ferrari 312 T2 in the dry and the Bernese Alps did a 1 minute 39.496, which means that the difference is about 1.5 tenths to the McLaren, which is quite frankly probably where it really should be, at least in my opinion. But that's probably a realistic difference. Maybe on a different track it would have been a bit more, a bit less, depending on the configuration of the track. But this is realistic. So now let's go down to the Nürburgring, where we'll check how the cars did in the wet. So, now the wet tests. What can I say? Really, just a bit because it's the wet, it kind of amplified the car's strengths and weaknesses. So basically the Ferrari suffered from even more understeer, which was really annoying, especially in Forza 6, because the puddles, if you just hit the puddle in the wet, it just really is annoying. Which is not, and the track doesn't have these kind of puddles that that Forza has, where in real life there are no puddles like that. But yeah, the Ferrari really suffered from having a bit of a too lively engine for these conditions, and and having no front end grip basically. It was really annoying because getting it into the corners was even harder, and it did understeer. Why it was really hard to get it to hit the apex nicely. And when accelerating, I had to be a bit even more careful to not to get a lot of wheel spin and to get a nice corner exit. But the rear wasn't, when in the parts when you really didn't need when you didn't accelerate from a low speed to a high speed, then the rear was better than the McLaren. So yeah, let's get to the McLaren. The McLaren, this time it was kind of, it was faster in the end than the Ferrari, and yeah, it felt a lot better. It was a lot easier to get into the corners and a lot easier to get out of the corners thanks to a less heavy engine. But yeah, you could feel it was a bit more. Excuse me. It was a bit harder to get it all in the other parts of the track where you need rear grip. It's a bit harder to keep the rear under control there. But in any case, the McLaren really felt like the car to drive in those conditions. It was a lot easier to drive, and probably the car that most people would have picked when they were picking between these two to drive in the wet. It was just that bit the front extra grip helps, and not then the less heavy engine. But yeah, so let's get to the lap times. The Ferrari did a 2 minutes 6.646, so I don't know what this time. It was slower than the McLaren, and the McLaren did a 2 minutes 5.583. Yeah, so yeah, basically I just did 6 laps in both cars around this track, and that was it. So where did this huge difference come from? It was probably because it was a lot easier to get the laps right in the McLaren than in the Ferrari. Because in the Ferrari it was really hard to get a whole lap together in these conditions with the way that the car reacts. But yeah, the Ferrari and the McLaren are both decent. So the conclusion of the Forza part of this video, and the response to Toby, yeah, the cars in real life and in my hands are a lot closer than, and it's probably how it should be. But yeah, so I guess it was, in the case of Toby's video, I guess it was his driving style that suits the Ferrari a lot better. That that's what happened. That's why the McLaren was a lot worse in his hands, because I think that he needs for getting a good result of the car, he needs more of the rear end grip, and I need more of the front end grip. So yeah, it kind of, yeah, you see the difference. And looking at the difference in lap time, I only beat his lap in the Ferrari by a few tenths, I believe. He did a 207 point something. Yeah, which was which compared to the how much I beat his McLaren time, which is by 4 seconds, really shows that the problem where Toby had, that the problem where why the cars had so much of a difference was because Toby just Toby's driving style is just catered to the Ferrari and not the McLaren. It really shows that he was probably enjoying it a lot more in the Ferrari, and yeah, in my case, my driving style, I found the McLaren to be a lot of a nicer car for me to drive. So yeah, this video is getting long, I believe, so let's quickly get on to the final bit, the R factor bit. And yeah, so the conclusion for the Forza video is right here. The cars, why was the difference so big? Because of Toby's driving style. Nothing against Toby, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. It's just that your driving style doesn't suit the McLaren, which means that you can't get the optimal result out of the McLaren. As with the Ferrari, you can. So not trying to be offensive, but that's just how it is, I guess. Please don't be offended. So yeah, R factor. So the R factor comparison. Yeah, what can I say? The cars felt really similar to the how they felt in Forza, except both cars had a lot of traction. So basically, the Ferrari, even though it had a heavier engine, it didn't spin up the wheels so much. So yeah, it was kind of a bit nicer. Yes, so what can I say? Again, it was the same story. The Ferrari had more understeer in the front, but in the rear it had a lot of grip. For example, this comparison was filmed at Spa, and yeah, so so what can I say? Yeah, the Ferrari could do blanchiment flat out, as were the McLaren couldn't. You had to do lift. You had to lift with both through Eau Rouge, and it does seem like quite a slow lap. Both cars were in the 2-minute 20s. The Ferrari did a 2-minute 20.2, somewhere thereabout. I accidentally already deleted the footage where it said the exact lap times, and the McLaren did around a 2 minutes 20.5 or 6. So it really is quite a small difference, but yeah, there's probably because in here in the R factor you can see the difference in power even more. Because like going along the straight, the Ferrari was a good, maybe a good 10 kph faster than the McLaren at the end of the camel straight, and probably because Spa is a power track, the Ferrari did probably gain a lot of time on the straights. But yeah, same comments for the McLaren. It had a better turn than the Ferrari, but the rear did feel a bit looser here, so it was a bit harder to manage. But still, it was quite nice to drive. They were both quite nice to drive here. It was a lot closer in comparison versus Forza. So yeah, but yeah, that's really it. I guess I have to applaud Turn 10 because they made good models of these cars. Even comparing them to this mod for R Factor, which really is a good sim, you can see that they have mostly the same characteristics in both games. So yeah, that's really nice. This has been it for this video. So, in conclusion, for those who skipped most of the video and just want to hear the conclusion in the end. So yeah, in Toby's video, the thing why there was such a big gap was his driving style. His driving style just prefers the Ferrari, whereas my and it really doesn't suit the McLaren, and whereas my driving style really suits the McLaren better, but I can just about adapt to the Ferrari. And yeah, in my testing in the dry they were about 1.5 tenths apart, whereas in the wet they were a bit more. But that's go watch the whole video if you haven't. Go watch the wet part. You'll easily find it. And the 4 to 6 car models are really similar to these models, which are probably really similar to real life. But I guess who knows? The only people who will know how they drive were the people who drove them, and yeah, God knows when we will be able to find that out. But yeah, guys, it's really it for this video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'd like to thank Toby, aka ReviewsTIJ, for letting me do this. A link to his channel will be down in the description below. Yeah, so if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm gonna do tons of great videos in the future. And yeah, so I guess this is goodbye.